All right, let's just jump right in. How in the world do you capture the explosive, world-shattering philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche in a poem? Well, today we're looking at a really powerful piece by the Turkish poet Sigay Bakırdıvan that tries to do just that. It's a short, incredibly intense journey right into the heart of Nietzsche's thought, and we're going to break it down line by powerful line. So the poem just throws us right into the deep end, doesn't it? There's no gentle introduction here. It's immediate, it's violent, and it's set at twilight. You know, that classic Nietzschean time between the death of an old world and the birth of a new one. This isn't a suggestion, it's a command. Go shatter everything you hold sacred.
So yeah, this first big theme is all about destruction. The poem is demanding that we tear down our idols, the old gods, traditional morals, all those comfortable beliefs that have guided us for centuries. It's basically the philosophical equivalent of taking a sledgehammer to a statue.
And of course, that leads to a huge question, one that really sits at the core of this whole experience. If your entire identity is built on these external values, these idols, what happens to you when they all crumble into dust? Seriously, what is left? Well, the poem's answer is pretty stunning. These broken mirrors, they're society's reflections of who you're supposed to be. So when they shatter that constructed self, the ego, it just dissolves. You're forced to go beyond those reflections and confront whatever is lying underneath. It's a moment that is absolutely terrifying, but also incredibly liberating. Now, once that old order is gone, you're not just left in some peaceful, empty space. Oh no, you are thrown headfirst into the embrace of chaos. This next part of the poem explores that wild, untamed energy that gets unleashed. So, what does this freedom actually feel like? Is it calm? Is it serene? Not a chance. At least not according to this poem. It's a primal, almost manic force. And the poem really wants us to think about the nature of this raw, untethered power. Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. A straitjacket, right? That normally means restriction, confinement. But here, the poem just completely flips that on its head. It becomes a symbol of a will that is so immense, so mad by our normal standards, that it can literally plunder the cosmos. We're talking about a will to power that defies the natural order of the sun and the moon. The poem sets up this really sharp contrast between two parts of the self. On one side, you have the persona. That's the social mask we all wear. But sleeping just beneath the surface is what the poem calls the chilgenbenlian, which literally means the wild self. And this entire journey, this whole poem, is about waking up that sleeping giant. And waking that giant up leads you directly to the next phase, standing right on the edge of the abyss. After you've destroyed the old world and embraced all that chaos, you have to confront the pretty terrifying consequences of this new reality. This line is just packed with so much meaning. Think of Noumena as these big, abstract ideas that we can't really touch, things like absolute truth or divine justice. The poem imagines these huge ideas crashing down into our world, becoming tangible. And the impact is so massive that it shatters the stars themselves. The old, distant concepts are gone, replaced by a chaotic, right here, right now reality. And this brings us right back to the beginning. Remember those idols we shattered? Well, they aren't just broken now. They're being desecrated. The sacred light of their candles is being smothered in tar. The poem is being very clear here. This isn't just about moving on from the past. It's about making absolutely sure there is no going back. So, after the destruction, after the chaos, after confronting the abyss, where does that leave us? Well, the poem brings us to one final, ultimate question. The relationship between existence itself and the void. The dance between being and nothingness. Okay, the final lines of the poem are where it all comes together. They deliver this powerful, paradoxical gut punch about what it even means to exist in a universe without a god. Let's break it down. So the image here is of minds, our consciousness, our reason, just falling into a void. This crater's crack is that abyss we've been standing at the edge of. It represents that terrifying realization of a universe that has no built-in meaning or purpose. Now here's the first part of the paradox. When you measure the individual mind against the sheer vastness of being, the entire universe, it's insignificant. It is nothing. And that is a humbling, almost crushing thing to realize. But then, just like that, the poem completely flips it. Those same minds, the ones that were nothing compared to the universe, they become everything when they're faced with the void. By confronting nothingness and not backing down, they create their own meaning. Their existence isn't just given to them by some higher power. It's forged in the struggle against emptiness itself. In a strange way, they exist for the nothingness, to give it a name. So, what does this all add up to? When you look at it, from the very first line to the very last, this poem isn't just about Nietzsche, it is Nietzsche, distilled into this incredibly concise and emotional portrait. I mean, just think about what we've walked through. The destroying of idols, that's Nietzsche's death of God. The emergence of that wild, chaotic self, that's the journey toward the Übermensch. Embracing the abyss is his amor fati, the love of one's fate. The poem just beautifully weaves all of these massive ideas into one powerful story. And really, this is what makes a work of art like this so effective. You know, it's one thing to read about these concepts in a dense philosophy book. It's a completely different thing to feel the vertigo of the abyss, to feel the rage of shattering your own idols, and to feel that strange sense of triumph in creating meaning in a meaningless world. That's the power of this kind of portrait. Which, of course, leaves us with this final, lingering question. If this poetic journey is right, if our very existence is a constant battle against a backdrop of nothingness, where do we find meaning? The poem seems to suggest it's found in the struggle itself. But what does that really mean for you? That's a question to carry with you.